Establish the quorum.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for attending the Risk Modeling Advisory Work Group being held on September 5th at 1 p.m. I will now open this meeting with some information for the work group. This Risk Modeling Advisory Work Group will be following the open meeting requirements of the Bagley-Keene. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Members of the public can comment on an agenda following member discussion, but we ask that you limit your time. For items not on the agenda, the public will have an opportunity to address the group, but you are asked to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you are filling in for a committee member, please answer for the person you are filling in for and state your first and last name. Jim McDougall.
Here.
Carlos Camarina. Deborah Hobblestadt.
Here.
Neil Matuka.
Michael McGuire here on behalf of Neil Matuka from OPR.
Thank you. Paul Glushko. Max Mortiz.
Here.
You. Nancy Watkins. Dave Winokur.
Here.
Robert Marshall.
I'm here.
Anthony Powers. Yana Valachovic.
Good afternoon.
Chris Ochoa.
Here.
Dory Beats. Harry Woodrow. Joe Irvin.
Here.
And Carolyn Thomas Jacobs.
Here.
Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Caroline.
Caroline, sorry about that. Quorum is 9 people, 50 plus 1. Quorum is established. We will now move on to agenda review and a motion will be required. Jim?
Thank you, Celeste. Thanks everyone again for getting on today. Hope everyone had a chance to review the agenda, and I am looking for a motion to approve.
So moved, Nancy Watkins. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. Thank you, Nancy.
Second, Robert Marshall.
Thank you, Robert. Is there any questions about the agenda? All right. Seeing no questions, all those in favor of approving the agenda, aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion approved unanimously for the agenda. Okay, the next item is approval of the past meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Robert Marshall.
Thank you, Robert. Is there a second?
Second, Nancy Watkins.
Nancy, okay. Is there any discussion on the past meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the past meeting minutes signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, for new business, still our old business. So there's a possible approval of our draft report. Two are kind of mixed together. Hopefully folks had a chance to review it. Been a lot of work done. Yana, thank you as well. And folks from internal to CAL FIRE reviewing it that have never seen it before to try to get that other context in of, looking for things, but also, understanding the document. So I will open the floor up for any discussion or comments. Les, has there been any comments added? Do we want to, as a group, pick through those, or would we want to discuss it a little bit? Pleasure of the group. Okay, well, let's just not hearing any. Let's move down, maybe to the first comment.
I have a question. Is there any way to see the edits that were made since the last version? Is there any way to describe what kind of edits were made? I didn't have time to do any dot compare or anything.
What I know of that's changed or saw, I don't have a doc compare either, but it's just maybe words here and there, mostly grammatical, making sure we had all those references right. We added the table of contents, the table of contents to it. Yana, you might know more a little bit, but there was very little, just minor words, no context change to the document that I'm aware of.
Just parallel sentence agreements, you know, various tidbits just to make it flow and align better. No big substantive things like you see something before you. Here's a word change. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Everything else was just cleaning up and making sure that things referenced appropriately and were tight. But at least that's what was on my end. And Celeste, you had 2 or 3 other people read it from the folks from the outside.
Yeah, exactly what Jim said essentially is that it was more grammatical, commas, things like that, ending sentences, run-on sentences, you know, breaking them up. That was basically it. Nothing of substance to the paper where anybody said, I don't understand this. What are you saying here? So it was just grammatical stuff primarily.
That's helpful. Thank you.
There's a little formatting, stuff like that, but I think the main goal is once we approve this, then there'll be a nice format edit that goes over the top of it.
Yeah, I see the first comment here. Again, just some wordsmithing. Yana inserted the word spread in that sentence. Spread and propagation are kind of the same thing, but I don't see an issue if anybody else does. Again, trying to make it where it's understandable for the public completely.
I'm good with the change.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, clear that one up, Celeste. Oh, citations on this. Nancy, how do you want to cite this since it's something that came from you? Should we put a citation underneath it? The graphic?
And there are 2 of these like this where they're kind of our work group products. Nancy did one, I did another. They sit, everything else has a citation associated with it. These 2 don't. And so just a comment for the group to think about.
I've used this slide in a bunch of different presentations, so it's already out there. So I don't know if that changes what the group would want to be. I don't know what the appropriate thing is. I mean, if it helps to have it here, then I'm happy to have it there. If you want to cite Milliman as the source, we are the source. Although we did work with, you know, Cal Chiefs and Western Fire Chiefs and Cal Poly to put this together. Like I actually don't have like a feeling that there's a certain right way and wrong way. I'm not trying to not answer the question. I don't know what the answer is. Celeste and Jim, y'all have thoughts?
If I could just add one other context, I think Nancy's point is important, that while Nancy and her team did build the graphic, the question could definitely be asked about, well, what was the source of the information that was used to build the graphic? As Nancy just alluded to, that source is pretty wide and varied, and this is an output of a whole bunch of work streams that it just wouldn't be possible to document with a citation because it's been so varied. So once again, I have no concerns with saying this came from Milliman because it did, but I do think Nancy's point about that that may not be particularly helpful, given that so many other sources contributed to it. That saying it came from Milliman may make it seem artificially compressed as far as the source.
Yeah, it definitely didn't only come from Milliman. It also didn't come just from the work group. So
Right.
I guess, does it have to have a citation?
It doesn't have to. It's just that all the other graphics have citations associated with it. And so, here it's a kind of a framing context. And, if attribution would be helpful, great. I do think it might be useful to describe at least where it came from. The work group and others contributed to this kind of illustration, maybe, or.
Well, the work group accepted it.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think if you want to say source would be Milliman, Cal Poly, Cal Chiefs, and Western Fire Chiefs. Dave, I think that kind of wraps us all up. Would that be?
Which Cal Poly are we referring to?
Cal Poly, I'll type it in there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. That little citation under there. Yana, I think the other one, well, I know where it comes from, but it's also, I was trying to see if we cited where, I think it's really tied to the whole group of text there, I think, although do you think we need a specific site underneath it? We can put that in there. It's easy from that website.
This one, figure 3.
Yeah.
My comment is it's not referenced in the text. And yeah, I just didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, we get it. I know where that comes from.
I think we should probably call it out in the text if we're going to keep it.
Oh yeah, I had actually a version of it that did call this out. I can find it. Yeah,
And it may have been a figure X that somehow got lost in there. Was unidentified for a little while till we gave them names.
Well, there was a bunch of text in that section that came that graphic and the text came from the same website, and I thought it was the California Office of Planning and Research.
The original one doesn't come from there.
Okay, let me go back to one of the other versions. Okay, so let me just write myself a note. I'll find you a citation, because I definitely learned how to copy and paste an image off the internet for the purpose of sticking that in there. So I know I can.
Accomplishment.
Okay, we'll get that one referenced as well. Those are good catches.
That's figure 3, Nancy. Did you get that before we scroll down?
Yeah, I just said page 11. So
okay, great.
So here's again another product. This was something that we talked about it as an earlier meeting, and then I spent a few minutes and noodled a little bit about it. It was really kind of a conversation that came from the work group. I'm happy to make it a work group product or take the citation, either way.
I think whatever you feel's best, Yana. I just need a site like the rest, so it could be you, work group, whichever you think, because it was you kind of had one before and then you adjusted it to fit the work group. Is that correct? If I
No,
remember correctly.
it was from one of our earlier work group conversations about context, and I just needed to change a word to based on it. It was a placeholder of an idea, but
Yana, I defer to you, obviously, but from my perspective, this would be appropriate because I thought you did more than just put the boxes together. I thought this really you did a lot to advance the discussion on this. At least from my perspective, this would be appropriately cited to you.
Okay.
This was me here. As I was working on the formatting and making sure everything had the correct footnotes and all of that good stuff with the sources, I had this one that was sort of hanging out here. And I don't know where it came from. Dave, I'm pretty sure you led the conversation on this one. So if it came from a website, if you could drop that to me somehow, then I can drop it in. It just, there was a source and then it disappeared. So through the number of versions.
Okay, I'll check. I think this is direct from the NIST study, but I'll confirm that those numbers are correct from NIST.
Okay, that'd be great. Because it was just kind of floating out there too.
Yana, you had a comment there on the FHSC map, figure 8.
No, think about this for a second. It was just weird seeing where the, I think this is the issue. Is 37 should probably not be right at figure 8. It should probably be moved over. It sits funky there.
Oh, gotcha. You just want to at California. Is that what Celeste you're doing?
Just insert it in the right spot.
Yeah, hang on. Let's see if I can do this. I'm not very versed in Google Docs. So let's see if that
There
will
you
work.
go.
I'm gonna see. That looks like it
Yeah.
might have worked.
Yeah,
Yep.
good.
I can't promise anything. So
You have notes. We'll make sure it's right in the Word document in the PDF.
And then it probably actually needs to go to the website or somewhere.
Yeah, we could put the link in there, Celeste.
Yeah.
this was me also as well. So when I was doing the formatting and cleaning everything up, I noticed that this is the dynamic models is the only one that didn't sort of get a subsection of all the models within this section. So would you guys like it to be its own subsection to be consistent across the board, or was there a reason why this one just didn't get its own?
I think it just needs to be added in there, Celeste. I think it got missed. Don't you think so,
Okay.
Yana? It just, because of the moving around, it just got missed.
I see 4.31 as static versus dynamic models, and static is underlined.
Okay, so it is okay. It is under 431.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Just
But good
wanted,
catch.
yeah,
Yep, see that there?
yeah.
Okay.
So do we want to add these just as its own little part of the
No.
table of contents, or leave them like this?
I think you leave it just like it is.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Do we want to make those bold? So they jump out? I am definitely not the editor here, so I just asked the question.
Like that?
Sure.
Okay, so page 46 for all of you following along. Yana, if you want to discuss the comment.
Yeah, here, let me stick to 46. It's basically a hanging concept, not related to the previous part of the sentence. I didn't write it, so I didn't want to interpolate it. The paragraph should be read entirely. It's sort of like an there's a I don't know who wrote this paragraph, so I didn't want to edit it without.
What page is this?
45 and 46,
Okay.
the top of the paragraphs.
It seems like
I think
since
it's
the point of the paragraph is kind of the limitations of some of these data sets, it seems like just moving that last sentence before the word however would wouldn't change the sense of or the meaning of it, but it would make the point that land fire data is widely used, but that many of these data sets have this limitation of not being fine enough resolution.
Then change these products. Land fire is a singular.
Yeah, I think it's good to leave in there. It probably moved around, like you said, because land fire is very widely used. We're getting an echo from somebody.
Yeah, this came from my people. So I could check. If I guess is the question, what's wrong with land fire, or why are we talking about it?
No, not at all. It really feels like the however part of the paragraph is the conclusion, and then all of a sudden there's this tack on about land fire. It sort of feels like a non sequitur in the middle of the paragraph to me where it's sitting. So before I rearranged it, as Max suggested, I wanted to make sure there wasn't some meaning that I was missing or that any of us were missing. Or it could go somewhere else. It just feels like it's hanging there.
How about I move it and then you guys read it and see if you like it better? And if we don't like it, then I can move it back.
But actually, after the first, make it sentence number 2.
So move it
Right there.
here, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work too.
Okay, so, oof, sorry, there's a lot of so the sentence is okay the way it is. You just want to move it up. That's fine with me. Yeah, I don't think it messes up with any understanding.
Okay, that looks good. Anybody, any other comments about that? I don't see any hands. Okay.
And I just didn't get there on that piece. I'll send you some stuff, Celeste.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had talked about adding some of those other NIST documents and stuff to that one. Dave, do you have any specifically? I know you really know those documents that you think should be added to that, or anybody else? Or helpful for the public?
2205, NIST technical note 2205.
Yeah.
And then technical note 2135, which is the campfire progression.
Okay. I got those written down, Celeste. We can work on that. Then we'll need to put all the links in there. Does anybody else have any helpful documents they would like us to add to that list? Okay. That's all the comments in the document. Does anybody have any others that we haven't discussed, or if I missed some going down through this? I don't see any hands. So as we have in the agenda, this just a little background. So we need to get, if the group approves the draft, again, an approval of the draft to go to the Wildfire Mitigation Advisory Committee meeting for them to review. I would entertain a motion. Obviously, the edits we have just discussed will be made, which are very minor and some references there. We can add the links down there in that last section and get the citations correctly. What is the pleasure of the work group?
Jim, I will move that we pass this on to the Wildfire Mitigation Group. Robert Marshall.
Okay, Robert, is there a second?
Nancy Watkins, second.
Okay. Thank you, Robert and Nancy. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion?
This is Yana. One thing that Celeste and I had talked about is potentially taking this out of Google and cleaning it up into a more formatted document, so it would be easier to read it in general, just because it's a bit clunky still in this Google version.
Yeah, we need to get it converted over to
So that
PDF, right?
So
Yeah.
if it goes to the full group, then it might look a little different, but the wording would be the same.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, see no other discussion. All those in favor of approving the draft with the changes, we will convert it over to a PDF, as Jonas said, make sure the formatting looks good before it goes over to the WMAC meeting on the 18th or 19th. So all those in favor of approving the draft document signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Motion passes unanimously. So we will get that done. I believe, Celeste, we have to have it to them on the 8th. Is that correct? So we have a few days to add these citations and work on the formatting. But once we do convert that to a PDF, we will send it to everybody on the work group as well as to the WMAC, so we can look at it again. Approval of the draft report and headed to the WMAC for their review. So thank you everyone for that. All right, Celeste, what else is left on the agenda? Okay, we got that. All right, so roundtable, anybody from the group have anything that they would like to discuss?
Jim, not roundtable, but just from the preview one, I would like to express my gratitude to all the members of the group, and particularly those who rolled their sleeves up and turned all those ideas and all that conversation into a really comprehensive document that brought together a bunch of disparate ideas into a cohesive final product. Really, really well done, and it's been great to be a part of this team.
Yes, thank you, Dave, and I agree 100%. Could not have done it with lots and lots of help and everybody's input, and I think it's been really successful, and I think the WMAC group will believe so as well. So to Dave's point, thank you all very much. Anybody else? All right. Public comment. Is anybody from the public, would they like to make a comment? If you do, please raise your hand. I'm looking. Okay. I don't see any. So we will get this to the WMAC, and after their review, we will send out a doodle poll to the group to have another meeting. Depending if they have any big comments or what those are, we'll let everybody know. And then we will work on setting one final meeting, hopefully, if they don't have too many comments, for the final approval of this document. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So does that mean that our work will be done at that point?
As far as I know, yes.
Have to have some kind of celebratory something or another. It's been awesome.
We'll have to do something. There you go. All right.
So motion to adjourn, Nancy Watkins.
Thank you, Nancy.
Robert Marshall, I'll second, just to keep with the theme of today.
That's right. You all are doing great. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it very much. All right. All those in favor of adjournment, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Again, thank you all very much for the time. I know these meetings on and off, answering doodle polls, jumping on, all the effort everybody has spent, greatly, greatly appreciated. And I really don't feel we'll get too many comments from the WMAC. We have several people on this group that attend those meetings. So lots of support for just poor old me sitting there answering questions. So I'll be looking to all of you to assist me. So with that,
Big thank you to Celeste too for herding all the
Absolutely.
cats.
Yeah.
Very challenging project for, yes. So great job, Celeste. All right, well, thanks everyone. And we will be reaching out back to you. Appreciate the meeting and time to get on today. And with that, I will end the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste.